Hello. Compliments of the season. You're welcome to my IG Live. And today we will be talking about how to go big in 2026. Quite interesting because 2025 has been a very disruptive year and it's been a year of transition for a lot of people. It's been a lot. In any part of the world that you're in, 2025 came with its own mind, like it came with its own doings, right? And now we are off to 2026, and the thing go big keeps ringing in my head. And I was privileged to MC an event, Magnificent Leadership Conference, where the thing was go big. And it just looked like since then everywhere I turned, I was just seeing confirmations about this going big thing. And I'm like, I bring the expert, right? Who came all the way from, yeah!
Finally,
Yes, so
we are on. We are on. We are on. We are on.
yes, you are. Hi, sis. How you doing?
Hi,
And I
I'm
almost
good.
want
How
my
are
guest
you?
today. I
Huh?
almost want my own. I said, let me just chill.
It helps me to be able to read the comments in the screen. So that's why,
Yeah.
well, let me put some more light here. I feel like it's a little dark. I'll be right back.
Alrighty, so everyone, you are welcome to this IG live session. We are talking about how to go big in 2026. I mean, how does a person go big
There
in
we
the midst
go.
of chaos and all the
Mm,
disruption, right?
mm.
2025 has been such a gbas year for a lot of people. For those who are not Nigerian and don't understand what gbas means it means turbulent, like all over the place, right?
Mm.
And for those who are wondering who is this, maybe you're from Maria's page and you're wondering who this is. Let me just formally introduce myself. My name is Enifome Ubini, all right, aka Enifome Speaks, and I am a woman who is passionate about helping people build better lives across all my expressions. That is one thing that marries me. I'm a reformer, right? So I'll stop there because I want my guest to introduce herself. So today we are talking about how to go big in 2026. And the reason why we're having this is because, right, this theme, go big, just keeps recurring in different places. And it's just like everywhere, this message, go big, keeps coming up. And how did I even get inducted into the go big message? It was from Magnificent Leadership Conference in Nigeria, which I was privileged to be the master of ceremony. And I had Maria Asuelimen talk about go big with so much passion, conviction. And I was looking at this woman. She flew in all the way from America to come and have a conference in Nigeria in a time where Nigeria was just turning. And I'm like, this is go big in flesh and blood. This is go big in practical terms. And so that is why I have brought her today to come and share on how to go big in 2026. I cannot even wait to hear the insights that she's going to share because I know that there is something that God has placed in her heart for everyone who's going to be on this call. So if you've not invited your friends, please, this is the time to go and invite them. I'll just hand over the baton to you to introduce yourself. So please introduce yourself.
All right. Thank you so much, Anifome. This is such an exciting time and a huge honor to be here. You know, when we started talking about doing this live, initially I was like, I'm not sure. But then this Christmas, I'm like, yes, this is a perfect Christmas gift. This is a perfect time to talk about going big. For those of you who are meeting me for the first time, my name is Maria Asuelimen. I am a daughter of the Most High God. That's the first thing I always say about me. I'm a child of God. I'm a daughter of the King. Um, and my passion is really people development. I think in some ways I would say it's leadership development, but leadership is about character. But I would say it's people development. I just love seeing people grow, people mature, people develop because I feel like you as the individual, you are the instrument. It is through you that you do everything. Whether you're a preacher, a speaker, a teacher, an administrative assistant, a business owner, whatever you do, you are your biggest instrument. So I love helping people develop themselves so that they're the most effective that they are in all their roles. I'm a mom of four. Um, I'm also a business owner, so I own three businesses. I mean, just hearing myself say that is exhausting. I own a management consulting professional services government contracting firm here in the US. I own a company, a development company in Nigeria, all under the AMA umbrella. So it's AMA Consulting, then AMA Global, and then I own a real estate holding firm, AMA Properties. And as part of, what I do, my primary business, AMA Consulting, we develop government leaders here. So as part of that, I started doing webinars every week on a variety of leadership topics, and then started doing the Magnificent Leadership Conference. And that's how Nifome and I connected. So this year, for the first time, MLC came to Nigeria, came to Abuja. And we took MLC to Abuja strictly by instruction. So my primary firm had won a prime contract with USAID. And it was my first time ever doing business in Nigeria in 2023. And it opened my eyes to the development world. And I started to see where the gaps were. I mean, there are a lot of multinational companies in Nigeria doing great things, occupying different spaces in the healthcare, education, gender, women empowerment, climate, economic development. But I felt like, there's still a gap that we can fill. With me being a Nigerian American, I feel like there is a perspective that I can bring into that space that is unique because I wear both hats and I've done business from both perspectives and both areas. So I felt like, setting up a firm there will be able to bring some value to marginalized communities. So when I started getting the nudge to take MLC to Abuja this year, I was very resistant because I left Nigeria in 1999. That's to tell you
Mm,
how long ago. That's
yeah.
what, 26, 27 years ago. I only went up to secondary school in Nigeria, so I don't have a lot of, like, I would say, strong roots. And the big question for me was, well, Lord, who are my people? How am I going to do this? Yes, I have some presence in Abuja, but not a huge presence. But then as we continue to plan and move towards putting MLC together in Abuja, I saw the clear need for leadership development, that there is, and we all know this, the problem that we have in Africa as a whole is a leadership crisis. And the reason why it has become a crisis is because we're not taught about character development as part of our educational curriculum. We're taught character development at home, but you see, every family value is different, and what the way people train their children is different. And so we're in a space now where we are seeing people in office, in the political scene, in the business scene, in corporates, even in a non-profit, with leadership roles without the character, without the expertise to be able to lead effectively. And so that's really what I took MLC to Abuja for. And then I connected with Enifome here. We met at Doha, right? It was
Yeah.
at Doha. It was at Doha that we met, and I've been following her, watching what she's doing. I've been following her closely, more than she knows. I'm someone that studies a lot. I study people, and I study life as a whole. So I've been following her, watching what she's doing, seeing what she's doing with women, seeing how she carries herself. And so when we were looking for a compare for MLC, I reached out, and that's how this Go Big theme came about. So for me, the way I operate is that before I kick off the year, I really sit with God and say, Lord, what is the theme for the year? Which way
Mhm.
are we going? How am I moving? What is your priority? Because I only walk in the will of God. I don't have strength to do things on my own, because I believe that if you are in the will of God, he will equip you, he will be with you, and he will breathe on what you're doing. So I've done unprofitable hard labor for so many years. I know what it's like to just be moving around on your own and working in your own understanding, how exhausting it can be. And I didn't want to do that as well. I've stopped doing that. So at the beginning of 2025, the Lord was very clear. This is the year that I want you to go big. I said, okay, what does that mean? He said, I want you to do everything mega. I want you to do everything. I want you to first and foremost think big. You are too limited in your thinking. You have assessed yourself based on your circumstances, based on what has happened to you, based on what you see in your hand, based on what you hear, based on what you've been exposed to. and the scripture that came into me in perspective for this go big was, I'm able to do above and exceedingly all that you can ever dream, wish, or imagine. And he said, from the little things to the big thing, I want you to start, thinking big and acting big. So I said, okay, Lord, what does that mean? And it started from little things like even my wardrobe. He said, start changing the way you put yourself together. When I was growing up, I used to love jewelry. I grew up in a small town called Warri, and my dad was a physician, my mom a dentist. We're just, I would say, middle class family, maybe upper middle class to a certain extent. And so I used to love jewelry, and I used to have a lot of watches. I remember like when my dad would be on his break, um, because he was a doctor, when he would be on his break at lunchtime, he would take me to main market Warri to go and buy me wristwatches. That's how much I love watches and I love jewelry. But at a certain time, after having kids and going through life and marriage and bringing the business, I stopped wearing my jewelry. I have a ton of jewelry, and I stopped wearing them. So one of the things God told me in the beginning of 2025 was, I want you to start wearing your jewelry. I want you to start I want you to start wearing your clothes. You have a lot of things you don't wear. I want you to start working on your appearance. I was like, this is serious. What has wearing jewelry and everything? What has that got to do with going big? You know?
Mm.
And I said, okay. Then he moved from there, and he was, with my business, I want you to hire this person. I'm like, Lord, I can't afford to hire this. I can't pay their salary. He said, no, that's what I'm saying. I want you to hire. And I couldn't hire the person at that time in the beginning of the year as a full-time staff. I brought him on as a consultant, but things shifted. He got laid off from his main job, and I ended up being able to hire him full-time as my BD director. So it was just things like that. The Lord was telling me, make a move, push. Don't just accept what is, go big, go big, go big. I mean, so many other things that the Lord instructed me to do in terms of being courageous and taking that bold, big step. And so when it was time for MLC, and I'm like, Lord, what is the theme for MLC? And he said, I already told you. I want you to tell the people to go big. I said, okay, you mean to tell me you want me to tell the people to go big in the midst of, I'm in Washington, D.C., I'm in Maryland. If you watch the news, you already know everything that's happening in Washington, D.C. with this new guy that we have as president here. When I tell you he has turned the government here upside down, he has turned it upside down. People have been laid off. Their job tariffs have increased the prices of everything. There is so much chaos. When you talk about chaos, it's unbelievable. People losing jobs, people being displaced, people not knowing. Okay, go back. Sorry about that. That's my child. This one always wants to be on camera, and I told him that today he's not going to be on camera. So, and my audience is primarily government leaders, federal leaders. That's the space I've been in 22 years. That's where I do business. And so all these people are getting laid off. All these people are losing their jobs. Things are changing. They shut down an entire agency, USAID. You guys don't understand how significant this means. USAID had, Ellen, you live in Silver Spring?
Yeah, she does.
Hi.
Yeah, she does.
Hey, we should connect. We should
Oh,
connect.
you should
So you know
connect.
what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Ellen, you know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about what's been happening in DC. So USAID, we had people, USAID had people in over 100 countries in the world who also had families stationed there. So when he shut down USAID, that meant all those people had to come back home. You're talking about people who had established their kids in schools, spouses who had jobs in those local countries. That's foreign service people. They're like military people. They don't have a base. They move from country to country. So imagine uprooting people, the disruption. Imagine, cutting off funding for huge government programs. And you see, the thing about government work is that when you work in the government, yeah, I had a friend affected by USAID in South Africa. Yeah. I mean, so in the midst of that chaos, God says, well, MLC is going to be about going big. And it was really tough. When I tell you it was tough, I felt like I was moving against the current. But we did it. We pushed through. And then as if that wasn't enough, the government shut down. At the time we did MLC in Washington, D.C., the government was shut down. That
Wow.
also meant that people were not getting paid. And I was like, Lord, why is it that you will send me with this kind of message at this time? And I didn't understand it then, but it's becoming clearer now. And then we moved to Abuja to do MLC Abuja. And just before we leave, there's all this uproar going on in Nigeria about the security, about Nigeria being named as a particular country of concern, about Trump setting his eyes on Nigeria. And I am going again in the eye of the storm to go and say, go big. And
Mm,
so that is and that has really been the summation of my story. Everything I've done it in the time of chaos. When I got my first government contract, it was in 2013 in the midst of sequestration. And that was the smallest budget that had ever been allocated for government contracts. And that's when the Lord pushed me into the market to say, go and start. So imagine going to start a business at the time where the market that you're going to start the business in is the lowest and the worst. That's when I
mm.
started AMA Consulting, doing contracts. So this has been my story and how I've moved. But I'll pause there and see if you want to ask me questions so that our conversation is more tailored. Because if you allow me, I will talk and talk and talk. And I want to make sure that people get the specific
I
nuggets that you
wanted
want
us
them
to
to.
speak. First of all, as you've been speaking, nuggets have been flying out. And so, if you've been here all the while that Maria has been speaking, please tell me what is the one thing that has jumped at you. Personally, what has jumped at me is how that to go big, you have to first of all think big, because you said that God started you on the thinking big part, right? And then you mentioned how God began to work you on your wardrobe. So I think what I'm going to ask is, and because I know this as a coach as well, that a lot of people, their problem is really not that they don't want to do big things, it's because of their programming, because of their childhood, their experiences, things that they've been through, mindsets, beliefs, ideologies, some of which is not even theirs. It was passed down to them from maybe, like you said, character development is not being taught in schools as a curriculum or a part of the curriculum. It's just something that a parent that has good character can imbibe in their child, because if the parent does not have good character, that parent cannot give what they do not have. And then we have this cycle of all sorts of leaders that now become government leaders that now begin to frustrate the people, right? And I'm going to give myself an example. Like, I'm in Nigeria right now, right? And what the power holding company is doing to people is crazy. So there's not been lights in Nigeria, in some places in Nigeria for a while. So it's just the blink and then it goes off, the blink and then it goes off. Now, this power holding will bring an estimated bill that is crazy to a Nigerian that is still trying to do other things and juggle other things, but is not seeing lights, but is paying that estimated bill, right? And they just do these things and it doesn't matter to them. When you complain, they disconnect you, and then but this kind of leader in that power holding company obviously does not have empathy, obviously does not have love, does not care. Even if you like, whatever happens to you is not my business. How they sleep at night, I do not know, right? Now, this is an
Mm,
example of a system where that a person has assumed a position and is now enslaving the people. So character development you mentioned is something I picked just now, and then you spoke about thinking big, and then you spoke about your wardrobe. So if I'm going to ask any questions, I'm going to ask around what are the insights that you learned, right, from coming to Nigeria to organize the program and then the theme was go big. What are the 5 critical things that you want people all over the world? And maybe we should divide it. Maybe we should divide it based on Nigerians and then people outside the world. But I feel like everybody all over the world is going through chaos somehow. There's a
mm,
disruption happening. In fact,
mhm,
next year is going to be more disruptive.
mm,
Yes,
mm,
it's going to be. In fact, why would I even say? Let me say it the way it is. The Bible says, "Thank God we have both women of faith." And for anybody that is here that is not a faith-based person, please permit us to be ourselves, and then you can glean the lessons from whatever it is that we're sharing around our faith. The Bible says that darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness shall cover the people. right? And
Mm,
he's saying, in the midst of all of that, arise and shine. Your light
mm,
has, the
mm,
glory of the Lord is risen over you. Which
mm,
means that God's darkness is not going to end anytime soon. It's going to
mm,
continue. Every year there's going to be a higher degree of gross darkness from the previous year. So instead of
mm,
praying for the darkness to stop or cursing the darkness, the onus is on us to shine our light. But if you do not have light, you do not understand that you are light, you are not a light carrier. How do you shine light? How do you profess solutions when you yourself you are part of the problem? So that's around the
hmm,
conversation I want us to have, because if we do not shift our minds and our perspectives on what is really happening and
mm,
finding out what is happening underneath what is happening, how do I come in? And you mentioned
mhm,
something I'm going to talk about briefly. You said, while I was going through preparations for MLC, there was something you said from the MLC in Washington. You said the dust will settle. When it settles, would you be positioned
mhm,
to be a leader in your
mm,
industry?
mhm.
So I want us to really go around there, but I feel like we should go into the thinking pattern first, and then we
Okay.
move to character development, leadership,
Yeah.
and then what do you mean by the dust to settle? How can people position themselves to go big in 2026? And then you can just run with it the way you want.
Wow. So that's an excellent contextual framework that you just put together. So you just gave context around this conversation. The first thing I want to say, right, when we talk about go big, this message go big is not for everybody. Go big is not for everybody. You know, one of the things that I tell people, so I have branding people that reach out to me or people who are close to me and they know what I do. And the first thing they always tell me is that, Maria, you know, more people should know you. You need more visibility. Like you're doing so much, and but you are just so quiet. And it is because the Lord had made it clear to me that the kind of leadership, there are different types of leadership. There's command and control. There is passive leadership, but what we're talking about here is magnificent leadership, transformational leadership that uses social influence to achieve great things. That's what we're talking about here. And the Lord is saying the kind of leadership, servant leadership, transformational leadership, you know, when I'm talking about this type of leadership, I want you to think about people like Mandela, Nelson Mandela. I want you people to think about people like Barack Obama. I want you to think about people like Winston Churchill. I want you guys to think about people like Ojukwu. Those are the types of leaders, right? I'm talking about, right? So what God told me was that these magnificent leaders are very few. I tell people
Hmm.
all the time, I'm probably never ever going to have 10,000 followers because the kind of content I put out, the kind of things that I do, the kind of things I showcase, the kind of things I talk about is going to turn off majority of the population. Why? Because we're an entertainment mindset people. We're not serious minded people naturally, although we're very intelligent, but we use our intelligence for craftiness, for wickedness, for manipulation. And then the only thing that we value is entertainment. We want to be entertained all the time, you know? And so when you start talking about going big, this message is not going to appeal to a large population. So
Hmm.
first and foremost, if you're on this live today, I want to welcome you to an exclusive club of high thinking, magnificent leaders. Because
Hmm.
most people will not find this topic of go big interesting. So that's the first thing I want to start with, right? Because when you talk about how do we go big and how do we start to change people's mindsets, it starts from number one, who is interested in this topic? What is the typical prototype of the person that wants to go big? Yeah, no, well, not everyone is for you to serve. So I already know my constituents. I have an idea of the kind of people that this message will fit. And it's a small group. And the reason I say that is for those of us who are in this space, and a lot of times I think one of the reasons we get frustrated is because we're trying to change everybody's mind. We're trying to
Yeah.
get everybody to see. It just may be one or two people. But if you get those one or two people, and those one or two people get another one or two people, and then you see the multiplier effect, and then their people get another one or two people. That's the constituency that we have. So it's not 1 million people. It's not 500,000. It's not even 10,000. It's probably 3 or 4 or 5 to start off. So the other thing is, before you go big, there are some prerequisites. So this message, go big, is for people who have been learning, who have been growing over the years, who have been investing, who have been studying, who have been praying, who have done the work, who have been doing the work, who have been diligent over the years, who have been people who have been reading, people who have been developing themselves, people who have been working hard. So I want to establish that first and foremost. So if you are, for example, maybe not at that place, and it doesn't have to do with your socioeconomic status or whether you have 1 year experience or 5 year experience, it's just where you are in your growth and development journey. So go big is a message for people who are medium to advanced in their growth and development journey. So I want to establish that, okay? Because if you have not done that preliminary work, it will be hard for you to go big because
True.
you don't have the foundation. Yeah, you don't have the foundation. You've not done the work to build the
Yes.
foundation. You haven't been in the ground. You haven't stuck with suffering long enough. You haven't been pruned. So
Mm.
you haven't been pruned. So this message is not for everyone. Now, if you have passed all these steps that I just talked about, and you have been qualified, and you feel like, yes, this message, and the reason why this message will appeal to you is because you passed that steps. These steps I've talked about. You've done the work. You've been looking at things. You've been working on something. Maybe you started your business 5 years ago, 3 years ago, and you've been doing it for a while. And now you are ready to go big. Maybe you've been honing your message, or you've been working on your calling and your purpose and your destiny for a while. And now you're like, okay, I'm ready to go big. But if you're just in the beginning stages of finding out who you are, this message is not for you yet. Okay. So you can listen, you can glean, but it's not for you yet. Now, once you are ready to go big, the first thing is, what is your strength? What is your strength? So when the Lord was telling me about going big, the reason he was telling me work on your appearance, start to put efforts into how you dress, wear your jewelry, even how you present yourself, your company, hiring the right people, is because I have been on this development journey for a solid 15 years. I started my company in 2011. And at the same time, I really started investing in my personal, mental, emotional, and spiritual development. I've been on this journey and I've put all the pieces together. And so, what he was saying is, I'm getting ready to now showcase you to do these big things. So, you now have to start presenting as such. Okay. So, the first thing is the mindset shift comes from the fact that you know you have done the work, you know your strength, and you are now ready to launch out into the deep. That's where that mindset shift comes from. The mindset shift comes from, I've been doing this for a long time. I've been working in my business. Okay, I'll take your question, Olumide. I've been doing this for a while. I've been doing this my business for a while. I've been coaching for a while. I've been working on my growth. I've been healing. I've been on my healing journey for a while. And I'm feeling something nudging me on the inside to say there's more. I'm feeling something on the inside of me saying it's time for you to launch. I'm very clear on my strengths. I know what it is I'm called to do. I know what it is I do well. Let me tell you guys, your strength is different from your passion, because you can be very passionate about music and have no voice to sing. That passion does not mean that God has called you to be a singer, or you are ought to go wax a record and start singing. No. You are going big in the direction of your strength. Permit me to go into the Bible, where when God was sending Gideon, he said, go with your strength. He didn't say go with what is trending. He didn't say go with your passion, what you like, what is trending, what people go in your strength. So that's why I said before you can go big, there's some foundational work. You need to be clear on your strength. You need to have been doing it for a while. You need to have a certain level of capacity and mastery before you can go big. So that mindset shift comes from knowing that you have been doing this work for a while. You have been doing this, so you're not new to this. You have the ability. You know the strength. The strength you have. You know the problems that you can solve. You know how to do this thing. As a matter of fact, the way you know it's time for you to go big is when you have the solution to the problem. You know you have the solution to the problem, and you are watching people that don't know what they are talking about, and you are sitting on your hands. So to answer your question, Olumide Favor, how do you discern whether 2026 is a year to go big outwardly or to go deep inwardly? So I always tell people that the calendar year, it's not yeah, God works in times and seasons, but you don't just listen, I'm sorry, but pardon me if my opinions are not conventional wisdom, because I think in a very weird way. I don't believe that if you just get up and say, oh, 2026 is my year, it's my year of this, it's my year of that. You people come up with different mantras. If your psychology, your psyche, your mind has not changed, the clock will tick from 12:59, 11:59, December 31st into 12:01, January 1st, 2026, and you're still going to be in the same place. So it's not really about the year. It's about using the end of a year as a time to take stock and to see if you have come to an awareness of what it is you're supposed to do in 2026. So, how you discern whether 2026 is a year for you to go big outwardly or to go deep inwardly is to see if you have that check in your spirit telling you it's time. You've done the work. You've been doing the work. It's time. You've gone through the fire. You understand what the problem is. You have, even though you don't have all the pieces together. You know, faith requires you to move in obedience, even when everything is not. But you will have a knowing. You will have a conviction inside of you. And also, you will get confirmation. I just gave you some things to check. How long have you been doing this? Have you studied the market? If it's business, if it's whatever it is that you're trying to go outwardly, have you done the work? Do you understand your strengths? Do you know where you are positioned? Do you know what it is that you are doing? Do you know who your target audience is? If you check to all these things, and you've been clear and you've been working on all these things for a while, then this message is for you. Then it's time for you to go big outwardly. It's time for you to move towards impact. It's time for you to use what you have developed and practicalize it, right? Because your time of development is learning, but you have to use that learning. That's what go big is that you have to implement what you have learned so far. You see why you can't go big if you don't have any learning. Because if you haven't learned anything, if you don't have any foundation, any development, what are you going to implement? Go big is about implementation, execution. So in 2026, Olumide, are you ready? Have you done these things? And do you feel that nudging in you that's telling you it's time for you to execute and go outward, because you've been doing all the deep work internally for a while? So that's how you know. You will get the nudging. You will get it. And you'll be seeing the signs. Just like Enifome said, she's been seeing the signs everywhere since after the conference. So Enifome, you are going big. You are there. You are going big because you've been doing the work over the years. You've been preparing. You have the foundation under you. So this message is resonating with you because God is pushing you now out to go and implement and to go and execute. And you will see the signs. You yourself, you will know. You will know. You will see the signs. You will know. So, going back to what I was saying in terms of how you go big and how that mindset shift occurs, you know, I always say that when the pain of staying in the same spot is bigger or larger than the pain or the fear of taking a leap, that's when you know it's time to lift off. So in MLC 2021, Let me just give you an illustration of what I mean, that go big doesn't just fall from the sky. It's a process. We have different things for MLC. And let me see if I can remember correctly. I think 2020 we did leading through chaos, because it was COVID. 2021 we said soar. And in soar, in my keynote speech, I used the analogy of, when does a plane lift off? A plane lifts off the ground when the velocity of it staying on the ground becomes too high, that it has no choice but to lift off from the ground. And I use that physics analogy for my keynote speech. Then we went to 2023, and 2023 was strengthening the core. Because in 2020, we have been hit hard by COVID. We are soaring, and sometimes when you are lifting off, there is some weakness, there's some tiredness that comes. And 2023 was about strengthening the core, and we talked about how you had to build intestinal fortitude. And then you see how 2025 is go big. So in terms of, going big, and what really makes that mindset shift, you will get to that point. And some of you are at that point already. You know that there, you can't stay where you are. In fact, it's almost be like there will be a fire burning. You'll be thinking about it at night. You'll be waking up in the morning. You'll be uncomfortable. You would know that, okay, I can't, this right, I have outgrown this space.
Yeah.
You won't know how or where the go big is taking you, but you will know that you just need to go bigger. And the other thing is, how do you go big? I talked about strength, and courage. Strength and courage. One of the challenges that we have as Nigerians is that the way we are programmed, we are really programmed to be robots. We are not programmed to think. We are not programmed to have critical thinking skills. If you think about how a child is raised, it's always do what you are told, do what I tell you to do. In Nigerian culture, asking a question is considered an insult. Whereas in America, asking a question is considered foresight, is considered intelligence, inquisitiveness is considered intelligence, and is promoted. Do you know that in America, your grade in school is not only on your exam? Class participation is a grade. Why is class participation a grade? Because they want to see you processing the information. They want to see you learning. They want to see you asking questions, making meaning. They want to see how your mental processing is working. They don't just want you to get the answer. It's not just about cramming and regurgitating the answer. They want to see how that you are following the steps. And that has affected us in Nigeria, because then we're not able to think critically. How can a country of close to 300 million scholars, because Nigerians are some of the most intelligent people in the world, that's one of the gifts that God gave us as a people, and there is no lights, and nobody has sat down to think through this problem and say, what are the bottlenecks? How can we solve it? And has not been able to gather people together to execute it. How many presidents have come and gone? They will do 8 years. Why? Because we're not critical thinkers. We are not problem solvers. Permit me to say this. We are not engaging our prefrontal cortex. We have it. We have the resources, but we're not using it. So what go big is you use it, remove that thing that is in your brain and put it into a solution in a big way. That's what really go big is. So a lot of the problems that we have in Nigeria is because we're not critical thinkers. You see someone that obviously rigged an election and got into power, but then the same people that don't have lights will be hailing that person, chairman, chairman.
Honestly.
Thinking this person is stealing from you. They are not only stealing from you, they are stealing from your children's children. They are stealing from generations yet unborn. They are borrowing money, and when you want to invite them to your party in church, they are the ones that sit down in the front. They are considered dignitaries. Why is this acceptable? Because we don't think. If we really sit down and think, everybody will be disturbed in their spirit, and people will start to take action and start asking questions. Now, I've seen that somehow there's been some awareness around certain things where people are starting to question government, and you see people say, oh, they say you spend so money on road, how come the road, it doesn't make sense, and then we see them come, but they come on TV and make a buffoonery and say things that don't make sense, but because there's a lack of critical thinking. And when there's no critical thinking, there cannot be accountability, because accountability requires you to understand that something is wrong somewhere, and you have to be able to articulate the problem before you can hold somebody accountable. So why these leaders in Nigeria get away with everything that they are doing is because there's no critical thinking on the part of the populace. And it starts from how we are conditioned. We are just conditioned to mindlessly follow, mindlessly obey. Why are BBLs becoming so popular? They are popular because everybody has seen that if you have a BBL, you get more attention, you probably book more jobs, you're considered more valuable as a woman. So mindlessly, people are going to go and do BBLs without asking, how is this going to impact my health? What does this really mean? What does this mean for my biology? In 20 years, if I don't want the BBL, can I take it out? What is the side effect? You see what I'm saying? We're not asking questions because we're not thinking.
Yeah.
We are not thinking. So with the first way to interrupt that programming is just to simply begin to ask questions. Why is this like this? Why?
And sis, I don't want to interrupt you, but I now see why some of us are the leaders that we are. And this is a pointer to anyone listening. This might just be a game changer for you. For the longest time as a child, I've known myself to be the kind of person that questions status quo. And like you said, in Nigeria, when you ask questions, they shush you down. I cannot count how many times I was shushed. Keep quiet. Are you the only one here? But it was a pointer to the fact that, look, what I came to this earth to do is to shift things, is to change things. Things should not be anyhow. And then I'm like, why can't it be this way? Why should it be like this? Why? And that questioning has literally changed my life, because every time I get into a juncture and I'm like, I don't understand what's going on, I'm asking, I'm saying, why? I'm saying, why am I feeling this way? I'm saying, what else is there to do? I'm saying, why did this happen? I'm saying, what could have been done differently? I'm asking questions. And I say it a lot that if I did not ask questions, I wouldn't have gotten answers.
That's
And
right.
I believe that sometimes it's the wrong questions we're asking that gives us the wrong answers. A lot of people do not ask the right questions. And now that you mentioned this, I just feel it's important to talk about this, because even in the line of work that I do, where I'm helping women to see themselves differently, I'm helping them reinvent themselves, a lot of times I'm helping abused victims. It's where you're questioning to say, why is this person treating me this way? Is this the way it is supposed to be? What is the way it is supposed to be? Because, quoting the Bible again, I think it was Jesus or Moses that said from the beginning it wasn't so. One of them, I'm not sure who exactly. From the beginning it wasn't so, which means there's a way things were from the beginning. There's a way God orchestrated and designed life to be. He didn't design people to be sad, angry, going through terrible leadership and all of that. But it's really a failure from one person that now multiplies into many more people. And this is why I know what you're teaching about leadership and how it really marries into going big. Because we're waiting for one critical thing that is going to happen, but the change really begins with us. And I know we've heard these statements again and again. I mean, people are tired. The truth is, a lot of people are tired and weary, especially those who have been doing the right things, who have the good character. And then you're surrounded by people who do not have the good character. And like you said, head mentality. You don't have good character, you don't speak good English, you haven't worked on yourself, you do not believe in the right values, but because you drive a very good car and because you have money and you can come online and say 30K for 10 people, oh Barry, it is over. the same people will start dancing and say, "Oh, you are amazing." Then somebody comes up to say, "Why is this like this?" They begin to attack that person. So in a
Mhm.
way, when we say go big, some people are not ready. And I love the fact that you said this message is not for everybody. I really like it. And then when you now
Yeah.
speak about how people now need to get to the point where they are like, look, I know within me it's time to go big, and I'm ready to put in the commensurate work. I'm ready
Mm.
to go all out. I'm ready. I
Mhm.
don't need someone to push me. I know
Mm.
that it's
Yeah.
time for me to go big, and I'm willing to dare the consequences and do all that I need to do to be able to go big. So you can just take it from. You wanted to say something, so you can take it from there.
Yes, so that's why I talked about courage. You know, I laid the foundation of this conversation and said we're an exclusive group, right? We are moving against the current because the general tide is people who have apathy, people who can't see, people who can't think, herd mentality, people who are materialistic. They just, it's materialistic is not only about it's also people just want to hear what they want to hear. So if somebody just calls you chairman now, or somebody calls you mama, even if they're talking rubbish, but because they've called you mama and they've massaged your ego, you are just you have lost your bearing, you are off key, you are not even, you're not even focused on what you're supposed to be focused on. So courage is required for you to go big, especially in a place like Nigeria. Courage is required for you to even go big in a place like America, where you are other in every sense. So in the place where I do business, I work with the good old boys network. White males are the ones that dominate my industry. There is no prototype for people like me. It's not just that I'm Black, American, and a woman. I'm an immigrant. And then, okay, let's even say I'm an immigrant. I have 4 kids. And I keep talking about these 4 kids because, in every sense, I'm a traditional woman operating in a very highly corporate space. Because the women who are like me that are in my space, a lot of them are not married. Or if they are married, they have 1 child. I have 4. I'm also conservative in my principles because I'm Christian. I'm Catholic again on top of that, even double conservative. So when I walk into any space, it requires a tremendous amount of courage because I don't represent the status quo in any way. They can't put me in any, but there's no way they can put me that I will fit. So it requires courage for you to be able to be yourself and go big in a system that is not designed for you to excel, a system that doesn't value what you carry, a system that doesn't see you as worthy, a
Hmm.
system that doesn't initially see what you are bringing to the table. It's only after you started producing results that people will start noticing, because people
Wow.
cannot argue with results.
That's
People
it.
cannot argue. People cannot argue with results. When I first
Evidence
started my business,
combination.
nobody was checking for me. Nobody was looking at me. Nobody cared. There was no way that, because it's like, what's she talking about? She was sure but when they started to see results, then they started to pay attention. So there are some of us who are going to go through the narrow road, and that narrow road requires courage.
Hmm.
So that's why I said you have to be ready to go big. It's not for everybody, because the system is not going to work in your favor. People are not going to like you. You're probably going to lose relationships when you want to go big.
Mm-hmm.
People are not going to even invite you. Certain places, they will not invite you. They won't call on you because you are not doing things the conventional way. Stauju. Stauju is here. Oh, welcome. It resonates. We are ready to take up spaces. Yes. So that was another theme. Okay. So yeah, take up space was 2023 theme, a theme for MLC. Before then, it was strengthening the core, and then before then, it was soar to greater heights. So in going big, courage, everything that you just talked about now, for me, requires courage. It requires audacity. I will tell you, from when I was a child, one gift that God gave me was audacity. I was always audacious, and it came from my father. My father gave me my self-esteem. He would always tell me, "You are an Ekerechi. Anything that you want to do, you can do because you are brilliant. You are an Ekerechi." He would always tell us, he said, "I have girls, but in the Ekerechi family, the girls were always more successful than the men." My father will sit us down and he will let us express ourselves. If there is a problem, this family meeting I do with my one time I posted that I do family meeting with my kids, and anyone in my house can call a family meeting. I sit down with if anyone has a problem with their sibling, we sort it out in family meeting. The person that has the problem will bring the problem, everybody will discuss it, and everybody will give feedback to the person that was wrong. Because that teaches them to be able to, number one, express their emotions, number two, to be able to take criticism. Listen, if you've done something wrong, you can take constructive criticism. Everything is not about hating. No, you have to be able to listen so that you can be pointed in the right direction. And it also creates psychological safety that the children can be themselves. They don't have to be perfect. They can make a mistake. This is a safe environment for them to be able to make a mistake and be corrected, that you're not a bad person if you've done something wrong. That's why people hide their flaws, because we weren't giving these safe spaces. But I was fortunate enough to have parents or a father that did that for me. My mom, on the other hand, was just belts. Pak, 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 pak. Anything you do wrong, pak, pak. Strict disciplinarian, but that was her orientation, because my grandfather was very military style. But my father really, really built my self-esteem. He let me know that, listen, I'm a doctor, but you don't have to be a doctor. If you can, if you want to, but chart your own course. He taught me how to express myself. He gave me my self-esteem. He let me know what my strengths were. And so because of that, I grew up not feeling like I was less than anybody in the world, and also not feeling like I was better than anybody. I grew up with
Absolutely.
a very healthy self-esteem. So audacity is something that is required to go big. I'm very audacious, and it has served me. I remember my brother was telling me the story on that day when I worked at SBA, and I was telling him that this government contracting, I want to go into it. And my brother was saying that, he was telling me that, Amaka, are you sure? Because my Nigerian name is Amaka, and my family call me that. And I said, yes, I will go. People that are doing it, do they have two heads? Because most Africans don't do what I do. They are in healthcare, or even they are in IT. They are working on it. They will not say, oh, I want to go and set up a company and start going after. Do what it takes to even do it. I have people reach out to me all the time and say they want to do contracting. After one conversation with me, they don't call me back when I tell them what it requires. The compliance alone it requires for you to be able to do. And so my brother said, and that's been my mentality. People that are doing it don't have two heads. So that's what I'm sharing with you. You have to be audacious. People that are doing it don't have two heads. Another
No.
thing, you have to be confident in your strength that God has given you. You see, all these people that throw money up and down. I was watching something today, and I just shook my head. A very popular man gave an actor, I don't know if it's true or false, because people pay $50,000 in cash, and they posted it. And people started saying, hey, this baba. You know what those people are doing? That's psychological manipulation. It's back to what I was saying. They're trying to tune people's mindsets to see them as a demigod.
Yeah.
To see
Yes.
them as a demigod, but not pay attention to the things that they are doing to exploit the system and
Yes.
exploit the common man to have that money.
Mm-hmm.
So, in order for you to go big, not only should you have audacity, you cannot be threatened by irrelevant things. You
Mm-hmm.
cannot be threatened and shaken by irrelevant things. You cannot be threatened by people flaunting money around, people flaunting their relationship around or their marriage around, people flaunting things that don't have eternal value. You can't be threatened. You have to set your face like a flint. You cannot be threatened. You have to be audacious, and you cannot be threatened, because it's very, very easy to say you are going big, but then you see somebody doing this, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I can do that too. And also, go big in the area of your strength. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do it. If God has not put you in that particular space, just because you can or you have the resources doesn't mean you should do it. You will not be effective. So going big is about efforts, and it's also about direction. It's also it's effort and direction, the right effort in the right direction. So I think those two things are the things I would say: courage, audacity, and security in yourself so that you are not threatened. Because when you are going big, you will hear a lot of things. There'll be naysayers. There'll be people who will discredit you. There'll be people who will look down on you. There'll be people who will say it cannot be done. There'll be people. When I was taking this MLC to Abuja, it was almost like, okay, let's see what she will do. Let's see how she will do it. People are leaving Nigeria and going to do events outside the country. You are taking your own to Nigeria. You understand? It's like, let's see. But I was clear on what God told me to do. And I did it. And everything came together. And the speakers that we had that day, till today, people are still. In fact, somebody that I know that was very close to me, that was a naysayer, that I even invited to speak, and she turned down. She ended up doing a post about MLC. Because when she came, the experience, what she saw, the organization, the program, till today, the young people that attended MLC, they are now saying they want to be a part of my Magnificent Leadership Academy. They were so impacted. They had never seen a conference presented that way with different types of programming for them. So